Hey, we're back with more Live from the Heartland. This is Michael James. I'm here with Katie Hogan, and we're bringing on our first guest, Loren Deutsch. Loren, that was John Faddis playing. Why don't you tell us a little bit about who he is for all the people who are listening and want to know?
Great trumpet player. John Faddis was Dizzy Gillespie's protege for a number of years. In many respects, Dizzy mentored John not only in the technical prowess, and John, as any jazz fan will know, is the stratospheric master of the trumpet on the high levels. He's the high note man. But also Dizzy had a way of really opening people's minds and hearts with a sense of humor wherever he went. And John has sort of taken that up as well. He's very engaging, great sense of humor, as well as being a spectacular and outstanding technician. Mr. Faddis was very happy to have lived in Chicago for several years when he was the director of the Chicago Jazz Ensemble. So we're going to talk a little bit later about how we're bringing him back for our Jazz City program.
Well, now that we have that information, let's do a formal introduction. We're here with Loren Deutsch, and she is, I think, the executive director of the Jazz Institute of Chicago. And I have a special place in my heart for Loren. She was one of my very first students when I was teaching organizing for social change at Columbia College back in the early 70s. And she was a great student, and I knew she was going on to big things. And I have to say that my favorite picture of one of my sons, Jesse, and myself was taken by Loren, who is also a hotshot photographer. So good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning, good morning. And I am grateful that Michael introduced me to his longtime friend when we started working together on Freedom Delivery. Freedom Road Delivery.
Before the Heartland.
Before the Heartland, yeah. And
Cooperative Energy Supply.
And Cooperative Energy Supply, my gosh. Yeah, Loren, you've really turned your love of the arts in the widest possible sense, but specifically, of course, honing in on jazz, into a lifetime of incredible, you've got an incredible legacy already. I'm so proud of you.
When people think jazz, they think Loren Deutsch.
Well, maybe in Chicago.
Well, and your photography, you've combined your love of jazz with taking these incredible photographs of musicians specifically. I know we did the jazz cards
A million years ago.
many moons ago. And
I still have a few.
I knew that was the next line.
I'm gonna sell them on eBay. Heartland jazz cards or music cards.
Oh my goodness. What started you? I mean, Michael said already that you were a student at Columbia College, but I also knew you as a fellow member of the Chicago Women's Liberation Union, Rising Up Angry, all of the movements of the time that then changed as we grew older and had to go to work and make a living and such. At what point did you turn your eyes in a direction where that was the critical moment, and you went down the road to photography and/or the jazz management thing that you started after that?
Well, I can't say I had an epiphany, and people often ask me that question.
They do. God, I thought it was an original.
But I think it's life experience tends to direct you towards those things that are strongest in your heart. Jazz in particular really spoke to me, really moved me. I can't say what that's directly connected to. Maybe an upbringing that taught me to really pay attention and focus on justice and human rights.
Was it because that music was movement accessible and related?
I couldn't really say. I just know that when it spoke to me, I really heard it. So that drove my development as an artist, particularly in photography for a number of years. And it's funny because sometimes I say one of the reasons I took up jazz photography was so that I had permission to be as close to the music as possible. Because
Sure.
of course, you know, you have
That's
to like
nice.
crawl around on the floor in front. But that was, you know, I could feel it in my bones. Like there was a physiological aspect to it that.
Of course.
And on
Jazz, after all.
for all this time, well, and so it's interesting because I started out as a jazz photographer, and so the relationships I built with musicians in this jazz community was artist to artist, and then I became the executive director of the Jazz Institute.
What year did you do that?
Well, it's
start?
1996. I just celebrated my 20th year as executive director last year. And it was kind of, I had served on the board of the Jazz Institute for 14 years before that, so I'm starting my 35th year with this organization, which kind of raised me in sort of the next level after Rising Up Angry and Cooperative Energy Supply,
Mhm.
you know, raised me.
We didn't do a lot of jazz back then. A little bit, but it was a lot of rock and roll.
But I had no formal training for this job other than the sort of grassroots training that you get serving as a volunteer board director on a small arts organization. And I was on the archive committee and the education committee and the jazz fair programming committee, and I was the public relations committee because I had those skills, and the Jazz Institute did not have a staff until about the late 80s.
Mm-hmm.
So little did I know that those were all the things that I was actually training to be able to do those jobs and carry the organization forward when I became executive director in 1996. I don't really know what was in my head when I thought I could step up to the plate in that manner, nor had I any designs on being an arts administrator, but I seemed to have been the right person in the right place at the right time.
Certainly sounds like it, yes.
You know, just for the hell of it, what is jazz? I mean, you know, we started out with, I remember as a kid listening to Dixieland jazz in my hometown at some events held at the beach, and then during the late 50s I got to see Jackie McLean in The Connection, I got to see John Coltrane, I got to meet Horace Silver, and a lot of people, and jazz was always a really important part of my life. And then came John McLaughlin and a lot of other infusion. How would you describe it? Is it like all over the place these days? Does the repertoire, the inventory of jazz artists and kinds of jazz continue to expand?
Okay, you don't get to ask any more questions than that question. 2 is enough.
Well, and I was going to say, you know, there's that great Louis Armstrong quote where if you don't know what jazz is, you'll never know.
Well, that makes, I should never have asked that question.
Well, you know, the great thing about this music, which is only 100 years young pretty much this year,
Wow.
is that it continues to expand and evolve, and certainly has encompassed all kinds of musics all over the world. So the truth is that many so-called ethnic musics are improvisational. They're based in different cultural traditions, and those music forms have very easily integrated into what we sort of consider American jazz. And American jazz is considered this country's original art form, created by African Americans who came out of slavery, who came from and took their African traditions and began to create the blues as a way of being able to conduct the labor they were forced to conduct with some kind of self-respect and dignity, and also as a way to express what was happening in their lives, which for me is kind of the backbone of why this music has uplifted and transformed me, and I hope many others, because it's truly an expression of freedom. It was, as music has always been, a language that allows people to express what's in their heart and what's in their minds. So jazz is a music, I think, that encompasses that in its heart, and the ways in which it is expressed has changed and evolved so wonderfully over the course of time, from Dizzy Gillespie traveling to Cuba in the late 40s, and that marriage of what was in his head as he was really developing bebop, music became Latin jazz, impacting both the music of Latin America and in this country, and that continues even with many of the young musicians now incorporating hip hop into what they're doing, which I think and I hope will bring a lot of young people's minds and hearts to this music.
Let's get a little more of that, just so we can stay in the vibe of jazz. I think we've got Nicole Mitchell, Black Earth, Cause and Effect. You're listening to Live from the Heartland, 88.7 WLUW, Chicago Sound Alliance.
I have some nice pictures of Nicole Mitchell.
You can hear what he's playing if you need to.
I don't need to.
When we come back,
No, but
let's
I'm gonna-
concentrate on this.
Yes, please.
What?
You don't want me to mention
What?
all these people that played at the Heartland?
No. If you have time.
This is about me.
That's why you got an A.
I don't remember getting grades in that class, honestly.
Wow. Do you know what we were just listening to, Lauren? I didn't have you have your earphones on. That Nicole Mitchell?
Right, that's from one of the first albums from her Black Earth ensemble called Black Unstoppable.
Unstoppable.
And she's teaching on the West Coast.
Yeah, she's currently at UC Irvine in California.
Yeah.
So what do we have? We have you on because we've got a big event coming up. So let's make sure that gets heard about right now.
Well, we have a very big season this year because
Yeah.
we're celebrating the 20th year of the Jazz City series. Jazz City is a concert series that travels to neighborhood parks all over the city. In fact, we have one coming up at Loyola Park in April. That's our Next Gen Jazz Summit, where we'll be featuring the new young lions who are all really strong players, just most of them post-college, some of them a little beyond that. The season's going to start, though, at Austin Town Hall Park on the west side. It's 5610 West Lake Street. And given this is a big birthday anniversary, I mean, imagine keeping a program like this, 10 free concerts all over the city for 20 years
It's
for
amazing.
free.
It's amazing.
It is a pretty great thing
And
to
those
celebrate.
events are so terrific for each neighborhood.
They are. They're really very community-based events because they're in parks. They're safe. They're sort of safe havens where you can come with your families. The elders in the community come out. They come out with the kids. And so aside from the outstanding music, the vibe in these,
Magical.
yes.
Magical. Totally.
So we start with Austin Town Hall Park.
When is that one?
That would be next Friday, February 17th at 7 p.m., 5610 West Lake Street. And we're celebrating with the Battle of the Bands in the kind of classic Duke Ellington, Count Basie tradition.
Oh, wow.
But we have invited the DePaul University Jazz Workshop under the direction of the great drummer Dana Hall. And Northwestern University's jazz ensemble, it's Victor Goines' jazz ensemble, but Gerard Harris will be directing it. And we're not going to have both bands on stage at the same time. They'll go one at a time, but there'll be plenty of room to dance. There'll be plenty of room and reason to celebrate. You know, I like starting out with big band because that's kind of the jazz music that everybody knows and loves.
Mhm.
In fact, I used to counter people who told me that they just didn't like jazz because they didn't understand it. I would say, well, what kind of jazz
Have
do
you?
you think you don't like?
Mhm.
You like big band music? Oh yeah, I love big band music.
Uh-huh.
Well, that's jazz.
Sure.
Anyway, it
Glenn
has,
Miller.
The great thing about big band music, though, is its staying power. It was Glenn Miller. It was the music of the 30s.
First
When
million-seller record.
popular music of the 60s, and now the whole swing dance movement is filled with young people.
Amazing, yeah, right. So
You have
this is a series that goes on all year long,
Yeah,
or all season long.
we
as it
have
were.
8 concerts this year. Usually it's 10, but because this is our 20th year, we're doing some big projects that I'm really really excited about. Actually, in March, we're doing a show called Women of Chicago Jazz, and this would have been exciting enough on its own. We're featuring a band called She, that's led by the vocalist Bobby Wilson and populated by Julie Wood on saxophone, Audrey Morrison on trombone, Kelly Brand on piano, Marlene Rosenberg on bass, and Sarah Allen on drums. But it was organized and curated by a new program that we have called the Women's Jazz Leadership Initiative, and this is a program where the Jazz Institute is matching some of our veteran Chicago jazz women with young up-and-coming jazz students in both high school and college. And this is so important because young girls do not get much support in this music, and music is still largely dominated by the male guys.
Yeah, that's terrific. That's March what? Where?
That is March 10th.
Where
At the Garfield Park Conservatory.
Excellent.
We'll also be featuring a Detroit-Chicago collective with Tamika Reed and Dee Alexander and Marion Hayden and Galen McKinney. We're excited about that too because it features all four of our current mentors in this program. Down the line in June, we are doing a tribute to Gwendolyn Brooks' 100th anniversary. Quraish Ali Lansana, a poet who was a protege of Miss Brooks, has organized actually a national celebration of Brooks' 100th birthday. And we are going to be presenting a commissioned piece by Nicole Mitchell, which is why I brought her music to play, which will feature 8 poets that Mr. Lansana is curating. And that's going to be a great program outside. It'll be an outdoor concert at Columbus Park Refectory. If you've never been there, it's absolutely beautiful, lush, gorgeous place with a field house that was built in the 30s. And
Where's that?
People have weddings there. It's that is at 5701 West Jackson.
Oh, okay.
Columbus Park. And one of the great things about Jazz City is people actually have been following this program for all 20 years, and they come from all over the city, whether it's a park in Englewood, whether it's in...
I wanted you to make that point, thank you.
Right, on the west side, when we first started doing the program, I remember the first one we did in Englewood, people said, nobody's going to come out for that. You know, people are afraid to come out of their houses in this neighborhood, let alone have people come to the neighborhood. And we said, well, we'll see. And the first one we did there, which was 20 years ago, we had about maybe 75 people came out. Now that Park Fieldhouse is filled with 500 people every time we do a concert. And this program actually is what led the Park District to create cultural centers in the different regions of the city, because we'd go to these parks where no programming had been done for many years. People would come out, and the Park District began to realize how important cultural programming is, and they created centers in each of the regions.
Lauren, you had mentioned some younger jazz musicians coming along. I wondered, are there still programs in the city, like in the public schools, that promote jazz? I know I had a son who was at Jones, and he was in a jazz workshop, I think at the Cultural Center or somewhere downtown. They'd go after school for a couple hours and play, got a lot of credit. Ahmad Jamal's kid was in the class. Are those programs still going on? Are there others?
There are lots of them, actually. It's a great time to be a kid growing up in jazz in Chicago. Very different than it was for a lot of my colleagues and the musicians currently working didn't have programs like Gallery 37, which I think is the program, the After School Matters program that you're talking about. Ravinia Jazz Scholars is a great mentoring program that Ravinia does. There are and the Jazz Institute has a lot of jazz education programs for young people too. In fact, we've been able to give performance opportunities to high school kids to open sets at Millennium Park and the Jazz Festival. They open all of the concerts for Jazz City as well.
Is there a proliferation, we hope, of jazz clubs? I mean, I know Joe Siegel's still out there putting on shows. Are there other promoters doing it? Are there new places that are doing jazz? You see it growing?
Yeah, there's always new places. I mean, places close down and it's really sad, like when the Velvet Lounge stopped operating after the death of Fred Anderson. People mourned that very much because it more than a club, it was really a very sort of important meeting place for the community. Well, a few years ago, Mike Reed, drummer, and producer in Chicago, opened up a club called Constellation on the
I've
east
stayed
side.
recently, yeah.
So for everyone that, fades away, another one pops up.
Lauren Deutsch, you are a gift to the city. All of your work, I just salute you endlessly. And the popular word with young activists now is intersectionality. And
I've never heard it before.
I think your life and your life's work is just a beautiful picture of that, with women, anti-racism, arts, schools, communities. Shine on, you crazy diamond. Let's go out with that last piece of jazz that Lauren brought with her today. You're listening to Live from the Heartland on 88.7 FM in Chicago's Sound Alliance. We'll be right back with Jeff Smith. Thanks.